Since Confederation in 1867, two parties have grabbed the narrative in Canadian politics: the Liberals and the Conservatives. However, they weren't always called Conservatives. Their history is very, very wild, so I thought we should make a series on this. And now we're on part 5. We left off at 1965, where Lester Pearson has called the third election in 3 years. It's absolutely crazy. So Pearson just won a minority in 1963. Diefenbaker got booted out of office, and now we're here in 1965. Yes. So the thing here is the party fighting the Conservatives to their right, the Social Credit Party, have now split up, right? But they're still a party, but they've moved east from Alberta. So they were heavily concentrated in Alberta before, now not so much. So the Social Credit Party is now running social credit, like social credit ideals in English Canada, and they're getting support in Alberta. But they're getting more support from the Règlement Crédiste Party, the French version, I guess, of the Social Credit Party. So they've lost seats, the Règlement Crédiste, but the Social Credit Party went up. And you know who else went up? It was Liberals. They went from 128 seats to 131. Not quite a majority. 133 is a majority. And yeah, that's really all I can say about this election. Diefenbaker steps down after this one. Okay, so we've now gone past a couple of years from 1965. It's 1967 now. And there's going to be a conservative leadership election, or the progressive conservative leadership election. Diefenbaker's technically in this leadership election, but he withdraws after the third ballot count, where he's only getting 5% of the support. It takes 5 delegate ballots, but Robert Stanfield wins with 54% of the vote over Dufferin, Robin? He loses. Robert Stanfield wins. Good for them. And in the next election, it's not Pearson running for re-election. That's actually surprising. So the day before his birthday, Lester Pearson resigns, or something like that. One of the days, he was right before his birthday, Lester Pearson resigns as leader of the Liberal Party, and the successor in the Liberal Party leadership race is Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the former, Justice Minister, I believe. He becomes now the Prime Minister and the leader of the Liberal Party, and he goes into this election knowing full well if he loses, he's one of the shortest serving Prime Ministers up to that point. And he goes in, he's like, I don't want to be the shortest serving. And he absolutely goes ham in this election, and he wins a majority. He goes up from 128 seats to 155. And he goes to a majority. 133, of course, needed for a majority. And Stanfield goes down. For the Social Credit Party stuff, the opposite kind of happens from the last election. So the Social Credit Party, the English Party, basically, the Anglo Party, the ones supported in Alberta, they have all 3 of their remaining seats gone, right? They lose all of them. And the Règlement Crédiste Party, led by Réal Coët, he's getting 14 seats. That is enough for official party status. The Social Credit, or not Social Credit, Règlement Crédiste, they're technically now on official party status. They're getting federal funds in the next election. That is crazy. But there's nothing of note here. Robert Stanfield stays on until 1972, but 1972 is very interesting. In my opinion, in Canadian history, there are 3 elections that are probably the most important and the most cool and the most game-changing. That, in my opinion anyways. That's 1896, 2011, and 1972. And in 1972, it's so cool because it's so close. And see, the popular vote is only decided by 3%. In the seats, it's even closer. Trudeau goes down in seats by a lot. He goes down 38 seats. Stanfield goes up 34. It's decided by 2 seats. Right, Trudeau wins the prime ministership, or not wins, he remains as prime minister because he beat Stanfield by 2 seats. It's so close. Now, there's 2 options for Stanfield after this one. It's either resign, heck, this is as popular as I'm gonna get. Really, I'm gonna unseat this very popular prime minister? There's no way. Or it's, you know what? I'm going to stay on as leader. It's a hung parliament. I can try and keep this momentum into the next election, probably within the next 3 years, and maybe even win. Well, that failed. The election was in 1974, okay, within the next 3 years, but Stanfield's campaign was not as great. Yeah, this was taken on the campaign. It spiraled his opinion polls right down. 0% chance of winning. It was horrific. Stanfield's amazing photo ops, his horrific policy plans, and Trudeau's good ability to capitalize on how bad Stanfield really was put Trudeau in a position where he was able to gain a majority of seats in the 1974 election. So it's 1976 now, and Stanfield finally steps down. Right? He couldn't live up to John Diefenbaker, and there's going to be a new conservative leader elected in 1976. Alright, so 1976 now, Joe Clark is the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party. He wins with 51% of the vote on the 4th ballot delegate count. And so now we're into the next election in 1979, and opinion polls are actually not really saying much. It's looking like it's going to be a hung parliament, 100% a hung parliament, and a very deadlocked election, and that's what it was. It was very, very tight. And Joe Clark ended up winning by the narrowest of margins. Well, maybe not narrowest. He got 136 seats, and Trudeau got 114. But he didn't quite get a majority because they upped the amount of seats in the House this time. 142 are needed, so you need 6 seats. You know who just got 6 seats? The Social Credit Party, led by their new leader, Fabian Roy. He became the leader in 1979, earlier in 1979. So Joe Clark goes into an informal supply and confidence agreement with the Social Credit Party. And the Social Credit Party is like, yo, can you do this and this and this? And, make us, what we want to do. We can't just support you and you do nothing, right? That's not how it works. So Joe Clark was like, sure. He didn't do anything. So when the motion of no confidence tabled after Trudeau's resignation, so Trudeau resigns after this loss. He resigns, but he stays on as leader after the motion of no confidence fails, because he doesn't do anything to help the Social Credit Party, and the Social Credit Party vote against. They vote for no confidence in the government. So a new election is held in 1980, in which you can probably see how that goes. It's a majority government, not a big majority, but a majority government for Trudeau. He gets 147 out of 142 seats. Joe Clark drops down to 103. But a horrific loss indeed for the Social Credit Party. Not only had they lost a by-election in between late November, or not late November, I don't know why I said November, mid-1979 and early 1980, they somehow managed to do that. They lost all their seats in the 1980 election. And this would be the last time that a party named the Social Credit Party had any seats. I don't know where I was going with that. But the Social Credit Party ceases to exist as a major force in the House, or anywhere, really, to be honest, after this election. And Trudeau is now going in to the Prime Minister as a former Prime Minister for the first time since 1935. So essentially, Joe Clark became prime minister for 9 months, and then lost, stayed on as leader, and then resigned as leader. But he also wants to become leader in the leadership election. It's confusing. In 1983, Joe Clark resigns because the people in his caucus were like, no, we don't like this guy anymore, I decided. So Joe Clark, he's like, okay, fine, I resign. But I'm also going to run in this election because, yeah, that makes sense. He gets actually the most amount of votes on the first ballot delegate count, but only 36%. By the fourth ballot delegate count, he loses, and Brian Mulroney becomes the leader. However, in between 1980 and 1984, Pierre Elliott Trudeau is not doing that great of a job, to be honest. People are like, I don't like this Trudeau guy anymore, I decided. Nobody does, really. So Trudeau goes in, and he resigns. And I'm actually going to leave it here. I'm going to leave it right here. A cliffhanger, right? Trudeau resigns as prime minister. Who's replacing him? I don't know. I mean, I do know. You probably do know too. But I'm not going to tell you.